In this second half, DePay marks on the siren from 19 points down to a 32-point win. That is one heck of a statement and one heck of a turnaround from Daniel Webster's side. A huge statement win to the AFLW competition on a Sunday night.
Alrighty, good evening and welcome to the Creedcast. It is Tuesday, the 25th of August, and we are here to review your AFLW side, your Port Adelaide women, having played on late Sunday afternoon, going down in disappointing fashion after a tight start and an exciting start in the second quarter in particular. They couldn't run with the Hawthorn Hawks in the second half, and in a disappointing effort, just simply weren't inexperienced told, and they went down by a score of 32 points. 10-5, 65, the Hawthorn Hawks, to 5-3, 33, your Port Adelaide Footy Club. Bit flat after that one, Jamie. As we were walking out of Alberton Oval, we were feeling flat, weren't we? Good evening, mates. And of course, just before I bring Jamie in, if you haven't listened to it and you haven't seen it, on the feed is also the men's review. You can listen to that one. We've got obviously had two games this week, so listen to the men's review if you want to listen to that one separately. It is a separate podcast episode on your feed. This is the women's review. But yes, good evening, Jamie. We were flat leaving Alberton Oval on Sunday evening. As good an evening as it was, beautiful weather, everything was great. Your daughter came along and had a great time. I still have a little bit of lock elbow from holding her chips for the day, but it was a great evening. Good vibes, good energies, except for the second half of that fucking game.
Yeah, good evening to you, and hello everyone else joining us for the W review, sticking around from the men's review, whatever your proclivities may be, just to throw that one back out there. It doesn't quite make sense, but welcome.
It does if you're a regular listener. It does if you're a regular.
I guess it makes sense. Yeah. It was a great, fantastic day on Sunday. Yeah, Alberton, there was a struggle to get a car park, which speaks volumes, and there was a good vibe contributing to the club, spending money at the food vans, buying a beer. Half-time, we've feeling pretty bloody good about ourselves, except for that slight annoyance of a late goal to Hawthorn. And then it, unfortunately all unravels and we get smacked in the mouth to a fairly hefty degree from an AFLW sense. And we go home with our tail between our legs, which was quite bitterly disappointing. Yeah, thankfully I had my daughter there and, that kind of helps level things out and offer a bit of perspective. Yeah. Obviously using Dave, as her personal chip holder for the day, unfortunately, because Dad had his hands full. I wasn't being a slacker. I was holding a drink bottle, so yeah.
You had three things in your hand at one point somehow, so you were doing.
I've only got two
a lot
hands.
Of work.
I don't know what to do with my hands. So we got an ice cream on the way home, and that helped kind of cure our woes to an extent. But unfortunately, we suffer at the hands of Hawthorn. Yeah, there is a bit of a rivalry going on there. We smacked them in the mouth last year to a similar margin, and they come back onto our turf and do the same thing back to us, which is disappointing. But for me, what was the most disappointing was just the way that we lost and the way that it unraveled in the second half. We got beaten by things aspects of the game that we kind of have based our DNA on, I guess, for want of a better term, and we lost it in contests. We couldn't get a hand on the ball. We couldn't handle the ball, which hasn't been a great point of our gameplay. But the contest part of it, just tackling pressure fell off. Just, the overall vibe of it was just wrong. Pretty much after Indy Tahoe went off injured, it seemed that the whole vibe of the game changed, and which is odd considering that she's the beneficiary of the gameplay that leads to her kicking goals. But it was just a weird correlation in the game where she went off. She'd kicked that goal, thankfully, went off injured, has done an I don't know what the injury report says. So hopefully it's all good. I probably should have checked that.
Test. So
Test. There we go.
Good. Right. Better
Hopefully
than it could
good. Yeah, but yeah, you were there. I think I've seen it commented by some other Port fans who were either there or watching the game. But yeah, it was just weird. When she went off, the whole vibe changed, and I don't know. Hawthorn would have went into the rooms at halftime, buoyed by that late goal in the second quarter. They clearly got a bit of a rev up, I think, the way that they came out and attacked those third and fourth quarters. But it really just put us on our ass.
It did. It was shocking to see. And I guess probably before we get to, looking at the lines for a bit there, it's concerning to me just how we fell apart in that second half. And look, it's not concerned. Look, I think at the top of the year when we did our preview, I said, look, I'm not expecting a top 4 team here this year. I'm not expecting this team to be winning a grand final this year. I'd love it, obviously. I'm still looking at the calendar and making sure the AFLW grand final weekend is clear for me just in case. But, that's the hope and optimism you have as a fan, whatever the season may bring. You hope and expect you keep those things clear just in case. But the dismantling that Hawthorn gave us, and the Indy Tahoe thing that you brought up, it's interesting because it shouldn't matter that much, but it probably had hindered our rotations slightly, and certainly our structure.
Second ruck as well.
Yeah, second ruck, which is it's interesting. We've obviously got Chloe Gaunt's out for a few weeks, so we don't really have many second ruck options. I miss late season 2024 Olivia Levicki.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I miss her.
Come back.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see what the makeup is if Tahoe does miss a week. I guess it brings in Teakle, who does have the can chop out as well.
That's right. That's the saving grace.
It's the more preview stuff. But yeah, just for this week, it shouldn't have mattered that much to how badly we played in the second half, and whether that comes down to a little bit of the experience or relative lack of experience in this side still as a side that is so heavily made up of a fair bit of youth. A lot of the leaders whether they're leaders spiritually or positionally, a lot of them, our starting ruck is 21, 22. I'm forgetting how old Matilda is, but she's very young still, is the point. And even
21.
The main midfielders like Abby Dowrick still relatively young as well. Whether it be your defenders, Emily Borg, Tegan Jermack, all of them are very, very young still as well. Gemma Houghton's obviously a senior leader, but even Indy Tahoe, is 23 years old. I was talking about that with my wife Andrea the other day. She was actually shocked. She didn't realise how young Indy Tahoe was still, because we all know that she obviously has already won a premiership at Brisbane before she even became a Port player. That's just how young and talented she was and getting drafted. So much of our side is so young, but we'd gotten that taste of how much they fought above that experience gap and got some big wins at the back end of last year, whether it be the win against Hawthorn, the win against the Crows, of course, in an away showdown to get our first showdown win, and some of those performances even the year before and that finals run as well. So it was just concerning and shocking, and kind of like I was numb in that. I think I was struggling to not say, I think when they finally kicked the goal to get themselves beyond a 2-goal margin, I kind of said that the game's done. And that's just how it just felt like there was only one. It felt like we could only win if in that last quarter, if we'd gotten forward and snuck a goal out the back or anything like that and gotten it within 2 goals, then maybe there's a shout. But then once they got beyond that 2 goals, I was like, there's just the way we were set up, we just couldn't get out of our back half. They'd evened it up at the clearance and stoppage. We weren't really getting any domination in any statistical area like that. And then, so they were getting it forward. And then just the kicking out of the back half was just a real regression to some of the things we've done earlier last year and even in years previous, where panic around the contest, not structuring up around stoppage and contest very well to maximize our ability to get out. And because we've got our ball users have improved, particularly in the first half. Sophie Eaton, even as a second gamer, had some really nice passes out of the back. We do have some good ball users, but it felt like we just went to water in the second half, and maybe the pressure told, and Hawthorn's pressure was really good. And we just didn't have the game maturity to figure it out on the run, because there's only so much a coach can do in that point. When the pressure's on, they're standing on the sidelines and going, I have all these messages I want to give, take your $5 plays or whatever it is that Glenn Strawn wants to say at the quarter-time breaks. But when the third quarter is, the heat's turned on, and then obviously the three-quarter time break comes, and we're still only down by a little bit. But then, at that point, I think they were on their heels a little bit, and Hawthorn smelt blood in the water. And just there is a certain aspect of it. You just go, Hawthorn were really, really good in that second half and executed to perfection, scored at a very, very good efficiency rate, and we just kind of went to water and couldn't do anything against it. And I don't think we really I just don't think we had the experience to deal with what Hawthorn were doing. Hawthorn were executing very, very well, and we didn't have the experience to figure out how to counteract that in that second half.
Yeah, we were almost incapacitated. It was like, I don't want to make light of head knocks, but it was like we'd taken a blow and just there was ringing in our ears and everything was blurry, and it was just, we're in this scenario.
Tom Hanks on the beach out of Private Ryan.
Or like
now,
Clockwork
sir?
Orange, like this shit is happening to us and there's nothing that we can do. We're kind of just strapped to the chair, just having to watch. I mean, from a fan point of view too, to be honest, but even the players on the field, like you said, like in terms of transitional play, occasionally it looked like we were in two minds, and then we'd try something instead of gaining valuable territory. And I still think that the thing that it benefited us in the end of seasons 2024 and 2025 were the fact that we took teams on knowing, in my opinion, knowing that AFLW defenses as a whole aren't to the level that they are from a men's point of view. That's probably an obvious notion, but the fact of the matter is they're vulnerable. There's not enough good defenders to contain, I think, the forward prowess of most AFLW teams. So in that regard, gain territory, take it on, make use of the barometers that we have in our team, and a couple up forward to the tune of Gemma Houghton and Justine Mills-Robinson, who are two barometers for our team, one obviously being the captain. But I just thought there was opportunities to take territory, put them under pressure, and then we kind of went for that kind of build it up when the game situation, in my opinion, didn't call for that. But it was just perhaps, we've practiced this so much, this is what I need to do, rather than playing on a bit of instinct. And then there was times where they tried to play on instinct, but they didn't kick it to advantage of their teammates up the field. And, the likes of Lucy Wales, who we mentioned it was going to be one of the big matchups of the game, we just kept kicking it to her. And Jenna Richardson, who was another one, who is one of their premier defenders. Intercept possessions. I mean, they had 19 intercept possessions between the two of them. It was like we were giving them marking practice at stages across that second half. It was a bit of concern in isolation. The rest of the season is still left to play out. And look, to simmer it down, we are still ahead of where we were at this point last year. So there is that. We started 0-2 to this point in 2025 and copped a 70-odd point loss to North Melbourne. And we're 1-1, and we played that game in Perth so well. But now, after this game, you go, well, we've only kicked 40 points and 33 points. Like, obviously going to be patient and let the season play out, but just my early signs are I hope the tweaks and changes that we're trying to make don't come at the expense of our offensive prowess that we developed over the Lauren Arnell era.
Yeah, and that's a good point to bring up because we look at, if you just want to look at it purely from that point of view, yeah, just the offensive prowess, particularly at the back end of last year when you look at 48 goals between Gemma Houghton and Indy Tahoe, and we look at, 2 rounds in, there's 3 goals between the two of them so far. So not that that's anything to get too concerned about with a win and a loss. Like, things can change in your
Not
way.
yet.
Avenues to goal can change, but we're still kind of relying. We haven't been able to get a lot of good ball use. Like Indy Tahoe's goal in this game comes from, she does have a mark and unfortunately misses a goal that she probably kicked more often than not last year. But then she does kick a very, very good one from a on the run play. So there's a give and take there. But by and large, we haven't. The Indy Tahoe kicked 5 goals in this corresponding matchup last year, so she didn't get nearly as much ball use. Obviously, in the she goes off before the end of the first half anyway, so there is that aspect of it too. But it's still, you look at the first couple of weeks and go, it's good that we kicked a winning score in one game without having to rely on them, but it is also just a concern that we haven't been able to get. Gemma Houghton's been fairly involved in the games and in her, just her hard work up at the half forward line, but it's still just not getting her a whole bunch of scoring opportunity. And so, yeah, that give and take kind of stuff is an interesting kind of aspect. And then look, we were, really impressed with how, Strawny set up the side last week. And certainly the way we start this game and it's a tight contest for the first quarter. We break it open and I think because I know you arrived a little bit late to the game and you asked how it was going. I said, look, the first few minutes have been good. It's been by and large up in our front end, and then the second quarter we really we try to stamp home some authority, and some of that is through some brave football, and yeah. So there's nothing in the first half that ever said that this game was gonna go the way it went, and then just the second half happens, and it bewilders, and it shows that Hawthorn is a side that has finished top 4 in the last couple of years. So they're a side that, we've played some good football against in the last couple of years, and obviously we're playing some good football against in this game. But it does show that there's still a gap between what a good, experienced top 4 caliber side can do in the levers that they have to pull versus what we have, where we're still trying to figure out what the levers are. That's kind of like every year it seems like we're discovering new levers and we're having some fun with them. But then you have a team that you come up against that's been up and around the mark for a few years, and they go, oh, you're just discovering these levers. Like we've had these for a couple of years, and we're gonna figure a few out. And then they've got new recruits come in like Jacqueline Dupuy, who just had a great game, and then some of their their other stars. I mean, Jasmine Fleming was laid out in this game, and still their other stars stood up.
Yeah, oh, geez,
Yeah,
I hadn't even thought about her.
Yeah,
and because we were intrigued as to why she only had 50% time on ground in that game against Melbourne. Yeah, that thought hadn't even crossed my mind, but I did notice that Poppy Stockwell was a beneficiary of their dominance. And she is another acquisition that they made. And in the preview kind of going like, oh, it didn't really impact against Melbourne. But yeah, announces herself within the Hawthorn camp with 3 goals against us. But yeah, you're right. They're a much more solid team. It is an interesting point. Yeah, and I guess it's part of the not apprehension, trepidation is the word I'm looking for. Trepidation of just the coaching change at the time that it has happened. And I'm not throwing the baby out with the bathwater or anything like that. But it's just the trepidation of like Lauren Arnell clearly did know which levers to pull as each year was stacked up, and then she's at just this really intricate time where coming off the back end of 2025, we are looking to level up our game plan that she had instilled. And then there's a slight shift, and yeah, again, the season's left to play out. But yeah, now Strawny, in a short sample, now he has to know which levers to pull while implementing tweaks to our game plan, and it all may work out. Like, these girls have shown that, like, we do tend to start a bit slow, but once we get into the season, things tend to progress well. And it's just up to him, the coaching group, and the girls to, continue to get on the same page and understand the push and pull of what he wants them, or how he wants them to play, and what their instinct tells them after 4 years of a certain game plan that looked like it was tracking in the right direction.
Yeah. And that's it's going to be an interesting test over there, and particularly this week already, coming up against a side that is objectively one of the lesser in the competition, and how they rebound against that. But that'll be, of course, preview stuff. But yeah, it's just some of the stats from the game in particular. Like, we get beaten -11 in contested possession. They obviously get more possession across the game as well. They take 12 more marks in the game. We get a good domination at stoppage, but then they win it marginally at centre clearance. So the overall clearance margin was +7 for us, but it was -2 at centre clearance, +9 at stoppage. So it's just figuring out that centre mix in particular with a good talent that we have around there, and disposal efficiency, of course, was reasonably close. Hawthorn goes at 2% better at 60.7 versus our 58.3, but in particular, and one of the key areas, and maybe a spot to get into which end we start at, but efficiency inside 50, they went at 48.6%, we went at 39.3, and it really was a game where some of those old issues that we have in going inside 50 versus sometimes another team, and how Hawthorn were able to kind of isolate some one-on-ones. And at the same time, we got some one-on-ones but didn't get as much joy against it, whereas Hawthorn got some one-on-ones, or just were able to find space, whether it be for a goal in general play or a marking opportunity. Of course, they do get the beneficiary of a couple of 50-metre penalties as well that put them right out in front. But ultimately, they kind of just were a little bit more dynamic inside their 50, particularly of course, in the second half as well. We're interested to say maybe starting at the forward line. Of course, we've kind of touched on it a little bit. Whether it's positives or negatives you want to start on, I'll let you take that choice. But it's an interesting forward line because there is a couple of nice goals in there, of course, but it was a game that kind of makes you a little bit frustrated with some of the entry in there as well. So I'm interested to see kind of where your head's at for your main point here.
Yeah, look, entry isn't necessarily the forward's fault. They're the beneficiaries of entries. And look, I don't want to be all doom and gloom. It was a pretty disappointing fucking game. But it is only round 2. There is a lot of footy to play. So in that regard, I do want to start with a positive. And my positive is Lauren Young.
Love it.
For a second week in a row, we're getting a bit more familiar with Lauren Young. Again, she played those games last season, but it was coming off the back of an injury. Now she's, like, to reiterate what we spoke about last week, or what I spoke about last week, was now we get her after a preseason and fresh into a year, ready to attack a season. And I think both of us, while watching the game, particularly more so when we were more competitive as a team in that first half, particularly, when she's around the ball, she just knows. She just seems to know what's going on, and she seems to have a real footy brain. She's got a body that means that she's not easily tackled. She can shake off some pressure from an opposition player. She can kind of bullock her way through a bit of congestion. But she can obviously clear. Her hand to foot is good. Her disposal is good. I mean, her disposal efficiency doesn't read well, but watching the game, she looks quite comfortable in an AFLW scenario, and she finishes the game. Unfortunately, our equal top score involvement players they all had 3 score involvements, but that's 7 players,
Yeah.
which is weird. But yeah, Lauren Young was one of them, with 3 score involvements in a game, where we didn't score a lot. But yeah, I'm liking what I'm seeing from her 2 games into this new season. I think, and that's another point, if we can get our offensive game going back up again, and give the likes of herself, Gemma, Indy, provided Indy's fit, or Julia Teakle if she comes back in. If we can give her the supply that us as fans want to see, she's the type of player that I think can clearly cap it off in the positive, because she just seems to have that knack of being maybe a step ahead of not even the opposition, maybe even some of her teammates on occasion.
Yeah. It's an interesting one of the forward line. I want to say one quick positive to Caitlin Pope. I think she's started the season like a house on fire, and she, whether it be her run through the middle and then connecting the lines into the forward line, obviously she's kicked a couple of goals to start the season. I'm really, really excited for what she's kind of developed into. Really, really excited for her. So shout out to Caitlin Pope. But it is interesting seeing, if you look at our bottom 4 disposal players for the game, you've got Gemma Houghton, Emily Elkington, and Justine Mules-Robinson in there. That's a concern that you just can't get. Emily Elkington's probably unfair to throw in there because she's second game in the system, but it's more around Gemma and Juzzy, as much as we love them, and obviously they're favourites of the podcast, but the 7 disposals between them just isn't going to cut it in trying to figure out your forward line mix and your ability to get them. And again, they're beneficiaries of what's coming forward for them, but particularly in the first half, we were getting a bit of forward line, a bit of ball down there. It's just like finding a way to get them in there. And they actually had some good effort. Juzzy had some good defensive efforts at times, but it's just like, and I feel like she built into the season last year as we went on, and as the cohesiveness comes. So it is partly down to the role, but it's still, you just want to see in a game like this where it was on the line for a while. Gemma certainly had a moment, absolutely. But it's just like, it's a concern that we just can't. We want to get a little bit more even. And look, Indy Tahoe has 6 disposals of the game, and she only played 45% of it, so maybe. So she still finds a way to get more ball than almost both Gemma and Juzzy combined. So it's just, whether it's their fault directly, obviously they're both fantastic players, and we've had a lot of love for them. If you're watching on YouTube, there was a Gemma Houghton game worn jersey like hanging on the wall behind me. She is a favourite here, quite clearly, but it's just like, as a forward line structure and as a team structure as a whole, a game like this, you're going to be shit out of luck if you're not getting them the ball. And that is partly down to the fact that the second half spent maybe 75% of the time in the Hawthorn forward line. So that is an aspect of it. But still, you'd hope in the times that the game was down our forward line, you'd get a little bit more, get a little bit more ball for them. And Gemma was isolated in a couple of one-on-ones, and she just wasn't getting much luck from. Well, maybe it would be nice to see the umpires jump in there here and there.
For fuck's sake!
So,
yeah, thanks for reminding me. It was
Sorry,
honestly, that was also a
PTSD there for
contributing
you.
factor to particularly the third quarter, but the second half as well. Parochial bias viewpoint from a Port Adelaide fan who lost the game of football, or whose team lost the game of football, but there was several occasions where Gemma was clearly being held off the football and had no reward for it. And yeah, at a time within the game where us on the sidelines are just saying, fucking give us something, anything we could do with the help. But yeah, it's really fucking disappointing from that point of view. Real Sunday umpire type shit.
Yeah, Sunday 450 AFLW umpires. Do not want them again. Midfield wise, I'll let you go first. In what you've got, positive, negative wise, I'm feeling pretty okay with our setup without, obviously, going up against a ruck woman as good as Lucy Wales and some of the talent they've got in there. I think we had some good performances in here, so I'm interested to see kind of where you were leaning in our midfield department.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest positive is that Matilda Schultz just keeps doing Matilda Schultz things, and we'd probably be fucked without her. I rue the day that she's ever injured. And hopefully it's short. It's a short stint. But yeah,
Touch
touching
all the wood
all the wood
everywhere.
that never happens, and she never gets injured. Until she's trained Chloe Gaunt to be equally as good as her.
Yeah, that's
But
just
yeah, that's
easy.
an obvious one. I guess a kind of, you know, a small positive, big positive, whatever. Is just Maria Maloney getting a bit around her. Last year, she seemed to be a bit maybe relegated to the outskirts, and we were going heavy on Ash Woodland in the centre, Dowrick, Sinead Goody, obviously Matilda with the hit outs. But yeah, there were stages last year where Maria Maloney, we loved her 2024. I'm just kind of going, she's not really getting the returns that we came used to in 2024. But this game in particular was a nice kind of return to what we know that she's capable of within our system. Contested possessions, tackles. Yeah, it just good to see her more prevalent. It's just unfortunate that, our midfield, while some numbers look good on paper, even they kind of clearly got beaten on the
Yeah,
day as a whole.
yeah. I think that's where my concern lies is that you have Matilda able to kind of match up as well as she can against a similar uh, status of ruck in the AFLW competition. You just can't. You'd want to. It's not that it was a bad beat at the centre clearance, and we certainly got our wins around stoppage, but you just want to get the centre clearance game you'd want a little bit better. And again, like Hawthorn are a good side, so it's whether it can be better, and sometimes sometimes you just lose some, but then you still out of a game like this, then you go, well, that's a concern because you want to be better at that aspect of it. Um, I will say, so that's probably where my concern lies is we just couldn't kind of manufacture more from that aspect of it. It felt like a little bit disjointed around the contest there, and um, as the game wore on, it felt like the experience of Hawthorn told in those aspects of it, and a lot of good stats from your Abbeys and Murray and Maloney's, and they all played good games, but it's just like you still just weren't able to get enough ball use from them, and there was a little bit of just just ball tracking rather than structuring up around the contest, if that makes sense. Like we just kind of got glued to the ball, and whereas Hawthorn just set up very smartly around and were able to get out of the contest, and as particularly as the second half
always
wore
seemed
on.
to have an outlet.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
knowing where
Whereas
that
we just
outlet was.
sometimes had two people going, and whereas one had to be the outlet rather than two going, and just a little bit of immaturity in those aspects of it. And that's not immaturity to the individual; it's just immaturity as a structure and as a team, and how you're set up and how you're figuring out those situations in motion. I would just say one thing, just as a slight positive. I enjoy the fact that Ella Bogue in a game like this is just finding a little bit more ball. Like there's games last year where she just didn't find too much possession, and she seems to be starting to lead a little bit more and find a way to more possession of the ball. So while it's a game that again, not great, I just wanted to give a small little plug to Ella Bogue that I don't think whether she's in your vote or not. I she's not in mine, but I just wanted to give her a small plug that she seems to be finding more ball and taking a little bit more just on-field leadership and finding her way to the ball more, and her game is growing. So excited for her as one of many young players that we have in the side. Excited for what she's doing and growing into. There's a time at times last year, maybe I was a little bit unsure of where she was progressing, but I think she's back end of last year into this year. I think she's progressing quite well.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. Yeah, she does seem to be. She had the 13 disposals on the day, 294 meters gained from those 13, and I do understand what you mean. Over the two games, I think I mentioned her last week as well. Just her prevalence throughout a whole game of football rather than kind of going in and out. Her running
Yeah.
patterns are good. She looks fit, which helps her run out of game, occupying that wing. Yeah, so I'd like her to, get a bit more involved because she seems to She seems to do pretty well when she has ball in hand. It's just getting the ball to her a bit more would be helpful, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Ella running down the wing. Backline. It's an interesting one because we got the fucking shit kicked out of us in the second, particularly in the last quarter, for lack of a better term. But it felt like it was the weight of particularly the third quarter. They held up for a long, long time, and then it just kind of fell away quite heavily at the back end there. And we do have. I'd be interested to see. I'll throw it to you, and you can give positives or negatives and whatever you've got. It was a game where I started feeling it's not something I've thought about for a while, but particularly in our first year in the competition, our size was quite small comparative to some of the more experienced teams we came up against, and we got outmatched a lot in some size matchups in this one, and it made me, whether your Germex and your Borgs who play big and play well, it just felt like in this game that we had a few too many size matchups in this one, and it made it a cause for concern, but also they did hold up for a long time in this game before the last quarter happened. So, these players do play big and play well quite often. It just, I'd be interested to see how you felt about the defense.
Yeah, it's a tough matchup, particularly with the weight of numbers against them. We talk about it a lot in the men's season. There's only so much you can do when upfield the defense is breaking down and you're having to kind of batten down the hatches. Inside 50s, 37-28 on the day. So yeah, it is harsh. I mean, we knew that Emily Borg would have her work cut out for her against Anya McDonough. If I stop clicking buttons here. It's tough. And, Jermac, after reaching the highs of the game against Freo, she still leads us to intercept possessions. She still had plenty of good moments. It's just her overall impact is affected because, there's spot fires everywhere. You mentioned the two 50-meter penalties, though. Were they both in the third quarter? I know Poppy Stockwell.
Yeah, they were both towards the north end, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Ella Hetz, but
yeah,
Anya McDonough kicks a goal to get them underway in the third quarter, and we mentioned umpiring before. In that instant, she held, I think it was Amelie Borg, in the contest prior to her getting the ball, not called. And then whoever was occupying the line got pushed squarely in the back, and they just let the goal stand. Now, there is the semantics of whether that contest was in it for, was it a marking contest? And that's no, but I don't think you can still go around pushing people square in the back. And I can't remember. Yeah, so was it Emily Borg got held, or was she the one on the line? I can't quite remember it off the top of my head, but for those who've watched the game, will understand the moment I'm talking about, and then that gets them underway. I think the next one is the 50-meter penalty, and that by that stage we're going on the sidelines, and it was a fierce challenge by Ella Heads. She kept. I think it was Stone. I think that's the moment. Because then there's the next goal is another 50-meter penalty. So that was the first one. It was an honest challenge. It was a hard challenge. I loved it from Ella Heads as a Port supporter. But unfortunately, a bit too harsh, and they pay 50 for it. But that's the little things.
We saw a few there's only two 50-meter penalties in the game. They both go to Hawthorn. There's a few moments in the game you could have been like, well, that was a little bit harsh and important. It's just it felt like it's not like it was majorly. I don't think the game was won and lost in the umpiring decision. It's just there's slight moments like that. As I say, well, it didn't go both ways a couple of times. And again, as two nuffies that are Port Adelaide fans on a podcast, we're going to talk about it because we're biased. And you just sit there and go, the fine margins. in a moment that the game was swinging as well. It's just like you go, for fuck's sake, like, give us a break a little bit here, like, yeah.
I totally agree. Yeah. And as that second half progressed, yeah, we as supporters were getting a lot more frustrated at
Mhm.
some of those consistency markers that weren't being met from an umpiring point of view. But yeah, look, the defense positive is that there's another game next week.
It's fair, and it's against GWS, so, not to denigrate them at all, but let's hope for last season's result again.
Nah, look,
Yeah.
look, let's get serious. I mean, Ella Heads is the biggest positive. Tegan Jermack, it was nice to see she backed
I
up
fucking
intercept
love
possession,
Ella Head. Yeah.
but yeah, Ella Heads, what a pickup from us. Finds herself with 23 disposals on the day. Just really impacting contest to contest to contest and imposing herself on the game as one of our leaders. And yeah, she leads by example is what I'm trying to say. And her
Yeah.
stat line, typically most of the time that she's put on a Port Adelaide jumper, her statistical line has looked pretty good. Yeah, it's funny. We got used to players, maybe touching 20 possessions or disposals last season. We're going, yeah, can we get a few more pushing into the 20s and up to the mid 20s? And we've got a handful of players from this game, but unfortunately it's a game that just goes the opposite way to how we envisioned it would. But yeah, from a defensive point of view, Ella Heads is my positive for the week. 23 disposals, 13 contested, and 7 intercepts, 237 meters gained. It's a good shift at work.
Yeah. I wanted to make one small mention before we get to the segments of someone I found a positive and second gamer in Sophie Eaton. She had some really, really nice passes at a halfback. She's on her second game, but one of her draft profile things we talked about in the preseason was that she's good disposal, and she had some really nice just dagger passes out of kind of a halfback position. She had the 264 meters gained with 14 disposals, 11 by kick as well. She had 6 marks, 5 tackles. So, for a second gamer running around there, and in a game, obviously, probably a lot more attention, possibly because of the fact that she was playing in defense in a team that was unfortunately spending a lot of time, a lot of ball back there as well. But yeah, she, I was still quite impressed by her work, and particularly the fact that she's in her second game. I think she went at 64% disposal efficiency as well, so not great on that front. But overall, just for a second gamer, she's showing a lot of things to like about her pick as the draft pick, and she's come straight into the side and played some good footy. So really, really enjoying what Sophie Eaton's bringing to the table so far. As one of the young, very, very young players coming into a relatively young side, it's good to see that the kind of the talent line that every year we're bringing in draft picks that are contributing pretty quickly to the side as well, which is quite nice.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you mentioned her disposal efficiency, and I mean, when the whole team is going at 58.3%,
That's fair.
in the 60s is a pretty good return comparatively. Excuse me. But yeah, she had her introduction to AFLW round 1. Yeah, by necessity being around the ball a bit more. She's listed on the wing, but yeah, obviously, yeah, assisting in defense and being a bit more exposed to the ball. Yeah, she's found a bit more of it in round 2. She's taken another step forward, and that's all you can really ask for.
Yeah. She just had a couple of really nice kicks just where she received the ball at a halfback position and just fucking darted it into the middle, and just like I was just like, whoa, that is something I did not see for the first couple of years of Port Adelaide AFLW football. I was just like, that is a dagger, and I was just like, that is it was a break the line kind of pass from halfback into the middle. I was just like, that's good shit. So really excited for what she's going to bring to the side. obviously, we're looking forward to getting into just reviewing the dub and giving it like longer episodes as the year goes on. But obviously, we've reviewed the men's episode tonight, the men's game tonight as well. So listen to that episode on the feed if you can and if you want. So thank you for listening to this one. But yeah, we will look forward to getting to them in far more depth in the future weeks. But Jamie, I reckon it's about time we get into the segments and get into our votes. There's a few good things in this game despite the results. So as always, we start with the Phillips Award. And I get to go first this week on the Phillips Award. And despite the result, there's some this side is never short of opportunities for the Phillips Award. And for last week's winner, by the way, the Ebony No Escape O'Day nomination, which is, I feel like Ebony O'Day, while she's inside, is going to get a few nominations as I tease forward to what may be coming very, very shortly. But her nomination from last week won with 69% of the vote over Abby Dowrick's 31% of the vote for her bump on, I think it was Aisling McCarthy as well. So, Ebony O'Day, a very, very strong winner in the Phillips Award nominations for last week. So my nomination this week will go to, teased forward, Ebony O'Day. She's just going to be fucking locked into this fucking award for weeks, I feel like, if she's going to be playing anywhere between 65-75% common ground. But she had a great spoil on the goal line about 2 minutes ago in the first quarter that was about to be Hawthorn's first goal of the game. And it felt like it, just watching from my vantage point. I think you were off getting the aforementioned chips for your daughter.
Yeah.
But Ebony O'Day just fucking reached her hand forward to the gods and punched it through and saved a goal for Hawthorn. And at that time, in a tight first quarter, it felt like very, very important. And for a long time in the game, it was very, very important. But ultimately, it didn't matter too much. But still, Ebony O'Day puts it on the line at every given moment. And her spoil in that late moment in the first quarter is my nomination for the Phillips this week.
Really drawing good defenders, being able to create space around her, and then having the opportunity in front of goal.
Oh, look at that. Depay to McDonough. The two forwards linking up, and Ebony O'Day, ever the team player, saves the day on the last line.
Nice. Yeah, I was getting the aforementioned chips, but I certainly heard the applause for Ebony O'Day after that feat. And had me going, oh, what was the applause for? You know, I noticed Hawthorn didn't kick a goal. Anyway, honourable mention to Olivia Crane, a nice intercept mark, another second gamer as well. Nice intercept mark in the first quarter. But my nomination goes to Tegan Jermack, one of the favourites of the pod. In the second quarter, she's putting on pressure on the Foss Williams stand side of the ground and just bodies Michaela Williamson, and you can hear, standing where we were, you can hear the slapping of the bodies, putting on pressure. Hawthorn were out, had Williamson continued unimpeded, but it created a bit of chaos and congestion, which brought us back into that moment. But yeah, just the tackle / bump that it was is my Phillips nomination for this week.
Bodie up at half back here. Able to feed it out wide. Oh, huge tackle coming from the other side. Jermack making a statement there on Williamson.
That was a brilliant hit. Had a bounce, had no idea what was around her, but geez, that was a cracking hit. Then she just gets up straight away.
Yeah, it was incredible, wasn't it? We all, that entire side of the ground just lifted in unison as we felt. Yeah, it was. We felt the shockwaves of it. Yeah, we felt the shockwaves like it was a bomb from the Enola Gay just landing and just the reverberations of the impact just waved through the ground. No, it was a very, very good nomination. It was a slap and to be fair, as the commentator said, as we watch the replay, of course, as we watch every replay, as much as we don't enjoy it at times, The commentators were just like, credit to them. Both just bounced right back up as well. It was one of those tackles that you're just like, how does anyone get up from that? But they just bounce right back up. So, very, very good nominations. Alrighty, let's get to the goal of the week. And Jamie, you get to go first this week. Before I let you nominate your goal of the week for this week's game, I will mention that Ash Woodland's contested score, just busting out of a deep forward 50 stoppage, won last week's nomination with 62% of the vote, over 38% of the vote going to Darrick's gather and score. A very, very good goal from Darrick last week as well. But Woodland ultimately got the chocolates in our inaugural women's goal of the week last week. So, Jamie, what do you got for us this week? Despite the low scoring and the loss, there's a few options here.
Yeah, I think most of our goals were shortlist worthy, to be honest.
Fair.
I am, however, going to go with Gemma Houghton's goal in the third quarter. It was typical Gemma Houghton-esque barometer work in the third quarter. It came at an important time. Hawthorn had whittled down our lead and then overtaken us to hold the lead for the game. And Gemma Houghton's goal, unfortunately, being our only score for the second half, brought it back to 1 point, where we thought, if we can perhaps grab the next one, maybe we can get back into our work. But just the goal itself, a bit of a contest in the forward pocket. Gemma grabs the ball, runs through what felt like 5 players. I think it was 2, just to snap truly at goal and give us a bit of pep in our step, albeit short-lived.
Kicked the last 4. Matilda Scholes wants something to say about that. Deep entry. Eludes Gemma Houghton. The ball does sit up for Houghton. No, she finds a way through. Houghton about that. Gemma has arrived in 2026.
There's a panic in front of her. Kicks it long and deep to the lead up in Gemma Houghton. And if she doesn't take the mark, what I love about Houghton is she keeps the ball in play. She's so...
Yeah, it was very, very short-lived. I feel like Hawthorn bounced back pretty quickly to score one back to bridge the gap a little bit.
They did.
Which was really, really
frustrating.
Well. Yeah, it was really frustrating because we felt like there was a moment of hope where it was just like, okay, we've got that one back. We've broken their run. Let's get into our work. And then they just score one immediately. And it's like, oh, okay, it's okay. It's going to be like this, huh? Like, that's just how it felt. Yeah. Oh, God. But a fantastic nomination by you. Very up and about when that goal happened. It was just like typical. I think I probably said the words barometer on the outer there as we were standing there. But ultimately it was in vain, but it was a fantastic goal and typical Gemma, and we're going to be forever indebted for just the amount of wonderful goals she scored for us whenever she does hang up the boots, which is hopefully far, far in the future. But, she's continuing to find a way to score goals despite the low disposals we talked about earlier. So fantastic nomination. As you said, a few decent options for this award despite the low scoring game and the ultimate loss. But I'm going to go with my nomination, Indy Tahoe's opener for the game, actually, opener for either team, a minute into the the second quarter, after a tight first quarter that had no scoring, goal majors-wise. Gathers really, really cleanly and finishes from distance. We're kind of from in front of the Alan Scott headquarters there out at Alberton. If you're aware of it, then she's kind of gathered and finished from distance out there. A really, really nice, clean finish.
Paddles the ball forward. Met first here by Tahoe. Elkington streaming through on the outside. Tahoe will go herself and head for home and for glory. Indy Tahoe with the first of the game.
Tall defenders that can go with Indy. Just being able to be clean, shrug off any tackle, and the finish from the pocket is a special one.
From Indy Tahoe, celebrated quite well as well, and which was a little storyline and fun storyline from last season. She finished that one quite well, and it's just a pity that she got injured shortly after that and couldn't continue in the game because she was, yeah, whatever the game's going to bring, I don't know what the result would have been if she'd stayed out in the field and the way it was played. Who knows? But it was a very, very nice finish, and glad to see she's kicked a goal in each of her first games. It's just going to be hopefully, as long as injury troubles aren't prevailing out of this game, be nice to see her start getting some multi-goal bags again very, very soon, because she clearly can find the big sticks as she demonstrated in this nomination.
Yeah, absolutely. And like you said earlier in the pod, it's unfortunate that she didn't convert her shot in the first quarter. I mean, it didn't miss by much, to be fair. But yeah, she's a pretty reliable kick on goal. So could have actually entered the game with 2 goals before, unfortunately, going off. But not to be. Great nomination. Yeah, a good moment that I wrote here that caps off teamwork up the field, which got it in that vicinity to help her kick the goal. Yeah, so yeah, great one.
Yeah. And look, the other 3 goals that were scored in the day by Caitlin Pope, Abby Dowrick, and Lauren Young, all very, very worthy as well, I will say. It was actually a tough mix of goals to pick from, but any one of them would have probably been worthy of a nomination. But we've gone with the 2 we've got, and I think they're a pretty good pairing of nominations. So we'll move on to our Player of the Year votes, which I get to go first in. And look, there was a clear couple of best on for me, though it's not maybe as clear. But then the mix down the bottom is difficult. Of course, we do our Player of the Year votes as the same as we do in the men's. 1 vote going to our 5th best on, 5 votes going to our best on ground. I get to go first this week, and I'm going with Lauren Young with my 1 vote. She had the 14 disposals, going with 4 marks. She had the 3 tackles, 158 metres gained. She had 5 contested possessions as well. She had the kind of game that is making me really, and of course the 1 score as well. The kind of game that's making me really, really excited. And it's just, even outside of her stats in particular, it's just her positioning on the ground. She's always ever present in areas of the ground. I think I'm actually I'm struggling to believe that this is correct. But I think AFL.com, the official stats on the AFL website, is saying that she had 98% time on ground, I'm pretty sure, which I find actually quite shocking. But also, it just shows that she's clearly had a good preseason and gained the fitness, because obviously we know she had a very, very long journey from her high-profile pickup to getting to actually making her AFLW debut with her knee injuries, ACL and whatnot. So it is actually incredibly shocking to see her have 98% time on ground, not because I don't think but I think that it also shows what I'm saying about her prevalence to just be constantly around and ability to impact. So I'm really, really impressed with her first 2 weeks in the AFLW this season. She's kicked a goal in each game. Disappointed she doesn't have the Angels, Am I Ever Going to See Your Face Again, as her goal song this year. But that notwithstanding, I'm still very, very happy to give her 1 vote, and looking forward to seeing her just get into the votes more consistently, because she's clearly worth the hype, and I'm really, really excited for what she's going to bring. My 2 votes goes to Ella Heads, and I actually feel disappointed I couldn't get her higher, to be honest, because I think she had an incredible game. Really, really love what she does. Love the way she goes about it. Like, she's just kind of like low-key becoming one of my favorite players. Not that they all aren't, but 23 disposals, 13 contested, 230 odd gained, 9 tackles, a really, really good tackle number as well. She just goes about it in a way that just makes me excited about football. She's just one of those pure football players. Her disposal is really good. I enjoy her disposal. She's one of those players that has taken AFLW on board and run with it, and is like a professional, beautiful football player to watch, and how she goes about it. And she's got a little bit of that chip on her shoulder stuff that that hard edge that you like as well, but she's clean and crisp when she wants to be as well. Just a perfect blend of football player, and really, really excited about what she's doing. She's blended into our side really, really quickly last year, and it's just continued on this year as well. So love what she's doing. Maria Maloney's got my 3 votes, which we fucking love Maria Maloney, and it was just like as you touched on before, you know, a little bit last year, like, oh, you know, where is she at? But so I was really, really glad to see a Maria Maloney performance that gets her into the votes, into the 3 vote spot as well. Rocking out there in the number 9 Guernsey, having 20 disposals, 12 contested, really in and under stuff, like 14 tackles, like just doing the fucking dirty work. Yeah. Like she only has like, I think 98 meters gain. Like she's not having a big game in those respects, but she was ever present and doing the hard work for this side. It's the stuff that we love about Maria Maloney. She gets the high disposal numbers, and gets the tackles and you know, has a great game on that front. So really, really excited to see Maria Maloney have that kind of game. And I think just her spacing and her positioning on game day as well showed me something about where she's transitioning and developing into the current transition of this side as well. So that made me excited as well that she's moving as a side develops. She's developing her game as well, which is really, really exciting. My 4 votes goes to Matilda Scholes. Like, you know, just, I mean, there's going to be a couple of copy and paste in these 2 spots that are remaining, but, and I had a hard time picking who was best on for me, but, I've got Matilda in the 4 spot. Obviously, she has the 34 hitouts and has a great game against a great ruck. So, great stuff there. She has the 7 marks, 11 contested possessions in her 24 disposals as well. She has 275 meters gained. She had a couple of moments in this game that really just maybe made her be my 4 vote instead of my 5 vote. You and I talked about it on the game day. I think at the start of the second half, she had a moment where she broke out of the center stoppage. And then it was just like, oh, she's in clear space. And then she tried to dish off a handball that just went nowhere. And it's just like you're actually in clear space. It's such an AFLW thing that, like, you know, sometimes in clear space, just take the meterage, and she's certainly got a kick on her that she can. So there's a couple of moments that maybe that I'm being hypercritical of, that I'm bringing her down, but I'm being hypercritical of in just bringing it down to the 4 spot as the second best on ground. So it's still high watermark. She's started the season incredibly well, and she started the season against 2 of the best rucks that she's probably going to face at any point in the season as well. So she's doing some great work and giving our midfield plenty of chance to win the ball and doing some great things herself. So she took some great intercept marks, despite the fact I think she did drop a couple, but her marking game has improved incredibly in the last 18 months. So took some great marks and doing some great work in that front. And obviously a ruck craft, really good, and still doing a lot of work around the ground. That is why she is the unicorn. But gave my 5 votes to Abby Dowrick. Obviously hits the scoreboard with a great goal, so she's hit the scoreboard the first 2 weeks of the season. She can go at a goal a game at least the rest of the way, as well as getting 25 disposals at 13 contested, 529 metres gained with 5 tackles. You know, that kind of game every week from Abby Dowrick's going to put us in a pretty good spot. So, happy to give her the 5 votes this week. And others, love her work. Love having Abby and Matilda at the top of the votes. I think if they can be up the top of the votes every week and increase their output as the year goes on, then we're going to be in a pretty good spot, despite obviously a disappointing result this week. So interested to see where your votes go. Have we had a W Yahtzee yet? I'm not sure if we have. I'm not sure. I don't think we're going to have it this week, but warmed up the Yahtzee dice. Anyone watching on YouTube should be like, this is late night with the Creedcast. Alrighty, I'm just jumping in to this part of the podcast here and this part of the video, if you're watching on YouTube, to mention that at the end of a marathon recording session of almost 3 hours, for some reason the back end of Jamie's upload just failed to upload. Not exactly sure the reasons. I was in contact with the studio service I use and tried to find the cloud file, and even the cloud file was just his video but no audio. So
To mention, we did end up Yahtseeing on the vote, so his votes were the exact same as mine. So apologies if this back end of the episode is a little bit odd, because it is just me for a few minutes there, and obviously I say my votes, and his were the same in the end. So I do apologise that you miss our little chat and fun about the fact that we ended up with the same votes. But that is the reason that there is no more Jamie here at this point of the podcast. I think his computer said, "No, I'm done" at 11:30 in the evening. So, thank you all for enduring with us, and thankfully we get to do just women's reviews for the next foreseeable future, outside of any of the further men's content we do, but there won't be any more long marathon recording sessions for a while here. So, thank you. Apologies again for the technical foibles, but thank you for your support as always.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Looking forward to previewing it on Thursday night and dropping into your ear holes on Friday, and looking forward to getting into the rest of the W season and being able to focus on it as we go forward. But of course, shout out to those listening to the W reviews. We appreciate it. And of course, if you're listening to this one and wondering where the men's one is, the men's one is in a separate podcast episode on your feed. So go and listen to that one as well. We will get to a men's season review in the next couple of weeks as well, and close that one off with a bow. But for now, it is Jamie and I signing out from a long night of podcasting, as we have wrapped up 2 games in one night, and we are cooked. So we're looking forward to focusing on the W for the rest of the season, and looking forward to drafts, everything that pertains to the men's side as well. But looking forward to not having to watch 2 replays in one night. I'm looking forward to that, Jamie. Thank you to everyone that's listening and keeps listening as we move forward, particularly in these weeks where we are wrapping up a lot. Thank you to you, Jamie, for all the work you do in continuing to wrap up a lot of replays. You do a lot of hard work for the podcast, of course, and I appreciate you being a partner on this thing. And shout out to you. Shout out to everyone listening. Calm the pair.